Okay. So, some years ago, in the Buddhist publications that existed, and it seems like there's different themes in the Western Buddhist community that kind of, one time this is the big thing, next year it's this is the big thing. Anyway, there was one time where people's big thing was that in order to realize emptiness, you had to have a strong sense of self, okay? And so many people in psychology were saying that you need a strong sense of self in order to negate the self. And what was implied there, and some of the people said it, was there are people, and I think this actually pertains to all of us at some time or another in our lives, people that are very confused. We don't know who we are, what we want, what we believe in. Sound familiar? Did you ever go through times in your life like that? Yeah. And so you feel like lost. So some of the people in psychology said those people don't have a sense of self yet, meaning that you kind of have to grow up and figure out what you believe in and what you want out of life to have a sense of self, okay? I don't know that I actually had a definition from them about what a sense of self was, but it had to do with that kind of thing. So I thought about that, is that true, what the psychologists say? And I think that when we are confused and we don't know who we are and what we want, what we believe in, I think we actually have a very strong sense of self at that time. Yeah, if you think back to it, in your life, for me, it was during my late teens, early 20s, trying to figure out, who I was, what I believe in, what's this world about? There was very definitely a strong sense of self, an inherently existent self, not necessarily a psychologically healthy sense of self, but there was because everything revolved around me. I'm confused. I don't know what I believe. Are these my friends or are those my friends? What do I do when people don't like me? Is everything everybody says about me true or not true? What do I do when people criticize me? Do I belong to my family or am I an individual? Yeah, how many times do you hear the word I in there? Every single sentence. Yeah, so there's definitely a sense of self. Okay, from a Buddhist viewpoint, a sense of self. And that self is being seen as something inherently existent. Yeah? And I have to figure out who I am. And I remember trying to figure out, how do I know I exist? Yeah, how do I know I exist? I realized, years later, that's actually kind of a Buddhist question. But at the time, I was like, how do I know I exist? Yeah. I finally got an answer. The way I got it, the way I finally decided it, because that question was driving me crazy, was the day after the first time I stayed out all night with my boyfriend. Because I was terrified. If my parents had called the dorm room and I wasn't there, oh my goodness, you would have heard it around the world, What? So that's how I knew I existed, because I was finally establishing that I can do something that didn't have the stamp from my parents. I don't think now, looking back on it, that that's a very good criteria for figuring out that you exist. I don't think Jay Tsongkhapa would agree with that. Okay? So it shows me that whatever I feel, like I felt a sense of self then, whatever I feel doesn't necessarily exist. Okay, but there was a strong feeling then. Okay, so even when we don't know who we are, I think sometimes, especially when we don't know who we are, then there's actually a very strong sense of self. Because we're going around in circles trying to figure out our place in the world. And it's all around me, I, my, and mine, yeah, right? Everybody have that experience? Yeah, you didn't have that experience? Yeah, oh, yeah, a little bit. Okay, and you? Yeah, a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So very common experience. And sometimes we may even have it now. Yeah. You wake up in the morning, and for the people in monastics, it's like, I'm a what? You know? I mean, that's what my parents said to me when I ordained. You're becoming a what? Yeah. Hi, Mom and Dad. You're becoming a what? What are we going to tell our friends? Okay. Who knows what they told their friends? I found out a little bit later, but I won't repeat it. So, yeah, so I think there's a sense of self, and it's strong. That doesn't mean it's healthy. A strong sense of health, a sense of self, and a healthy sense of self are very different. And as I kept practicing, I began to see that in Buddhist practice, we are not trying to understand who we are, you know, because that's our big adolescent question, isn't it? Or 20, 30, 40, whatever our age we are at question. Who am I? What am I? You know? And in Buddhism, we're not trying to figure out who we are. We're trying to figure out who we aren't. We're trying to figure out who we aren't. And this is quite important because it's a totally different perspective. Yeah? Trying to find out who we are assumes that there's a real person there, and I've got to figure out their qualities, their likes and their dislikes, how they fit in the world, and get that all straight, make lots of little boxes, and put myself in some boxes and other people in other boxes so that I have a clear idea of how I fit in this confusing world. Okay? And that's what we spend a lot of time trying to do. In Buddhism, what we're trying to do is peel away all the thoughts of everything that we really aren't. And in doing so, we realize that we have created a very big sense of self. Yeah, it's very big, it's very strong. Yeah, we're going to defend it. And then the Buddha comes along and says, you know, Lama Yeshe always used the expression, check up, dear. Buddha says, check up, dear. Are you really those things? All those things you believe you are you really those things? And you begin to investigate, are you, this whole picture that you've created of who you are and how you fit into this world. Yeah. So it can start out with, okay, what's my race? What's my gender? What's my nationality? What's my religion? What's my political group? What's my socioeconomic class? What else is there? But yeah, my career, my education level. Yeah, that's a whole bunch of things. And we have very clear ideas about ourselves, about those things. Yeah? And then from there, those are kind of the big things that society wants to know about you. Okay. Then there's all the other things that we're trying to figure out in terms of who I am. Okay. What do I believe in? Yeah. I was taught democracy is the best way. Do I really believe that? I was taught my country is the best country. Do I believe that? Yeah. I was taught that given my race, given my religion, given my gender, that this is my role in society. Is that true? Okay, so that's more personal level. Yeah, I was taught that this and this and this meant I was successful, and that and that and that meant that I wasn't so successful. Okay, and then so there's those questions. Then you go deeper, and it's like, am I a nice person? Yeah. Am I somebody that other people can take advantage of? Am I someone that gets pushed around? Am I a bully? Do I stand up for myself? Is standing up for myself good or bad? Is being humble good or bad? What does humility mean? What is self-confidence? Do I need a lot of pieces of paper to tell me who I am so that I have confidence that I can be an adult? Yeah. What actually makes me successful according to what I believe? And in investigating those deeper questions, more personal questions, we bump into all the ideas that of everybody else, what they think we should be and feel and think and do, and what our society says about all of that too. So when we actually look, we have a ton of conceptions about ourselves. Yeah. I'm shy. Nobody likes me. People ignore me. I'm really afraid of talking to people because I might say something that's not so nice, or they may not like me, or I have such a bad temper. I'm even afraid of my own temper. Am I too much this? Am I not enough that? Okay, are you getting what I mean? Yeah? Some of the identities that were given to me just by virtue of what I was born, are some of those identities true, or some of them false? Yeah. Am I successful because I have certain identities just as a baby? I have certain identities and certain privileges, or as a baby, even do I have certain disadvantages according to what I was born as? Yeah. And these advantages and disadvantages are so strong in the world, people really believe them, but do I believe them? Yeah. Do I really believe that because I have such and such a trait that I'm really a creep? You know, everything they called me in, what grade is it where you get really nasty to each other? Sixth grade. Yeah? Yeah, sixth grade. Around there. Fourth grade, you're still really nice. Yeah, first grade, you're an angel. Sixth grade, yeah. And then it goes from there. But, you know, am I the kind, you know, what kind of person? Do I think I'm better because I live on this side of the railroad tracks rather than the other side? Not just do I think I'm better, but am I better or am I worse? Yeah. Am I better because my family has this kind of car, or am I worse because they have that kind of car? You know, all these things, trying to figure out who we are. And then we wind up just so confused, don't we? And then you bump into Buddhism and it says, actually, you aren't any of that stuff. Relax. We go, relax! I can't relax. I want to know what other people think of me. Do they accept me? Am I rejected? Okay. So, you know, when I say in Buddhism we're trying to figure out who we aren't, we have to start with all those kind of things that pertain to our conventional identity as whatever we were born as in this world, and whatever personality characteristics were stronger or weaker. We have to go through that before we can, and see that we aren't any of those things, before we can even get to, am I permanent, partless, and independent? And then we have to go through that before, am I self-sufficient, substantially existent? And you have to go through that before you get to, am I inherently existent? Okay, so it's peel, like peeling the onion. Does an onion have a core? I don't think it does. Yeah? Or what do they call the plantain tree? Yeah, it's a kind of banana that they have in India, big fat ones. They have it in Central America too. They fry them. Quite good. Let's come back to the topic. Huh?
Plátano macho.
Plátano
macho.
Plátano macho.
The type of banana that you can cook.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
has consistency.
Yeah, that's very good. So, how did we get on that? Huh? Oh yeah, so that kind of banana, that tree, the plantain tree looks like there's this big thick trunk. But as you peel away the different sheaths, you never come to a core. Yeah, there's nothing when you analyze that you find. But when you don't, just the conventional tree is there, and there's the appearance of a trunk. Okay? So, so we have to, to really figure out, quote, who we are, to develop a healthy sense of self, we have to strip away all the things we aren't. Okay? Now, how do we do that? Well, society helps us because we bump up against a lot of things in terms of what people believe, and we have to figure it out. And living in a monastery really helps you too. You bump up, you'd think that all the people living in the monastery kind of, we look alike. Yeah, same clothes, same hairdo. We don't think alike on many, many issues. We think very, very differently, okay? And we're constantly bumping up against, well, this is who I think I am, and who I think you are, and you should treat me like this, but you aren't treating me like that, so what's wrong with you? Instead of, what am I clinging on to? And am I really what I am holding on to? Okay. So we can see this in many different aspects. I'll just talk about the monastery because it's so clear somehow. Okay, but it's the same in regular society too, because it can happen at a job. You apply for a job in a certain place, for a particular job that you would like, that you think you're qualified for, and the company gives you a job, but not that job. They give you another job because they think you would be better in that department. Well, the same thing happens in the monastery. You think, I came here, I did da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da in my worldly life, and I'm coming here, and people should know that about me. Okay? Yeah? You're coming here, you've been here 2 days, yeah? And it's like, well, in Mexico, I ran my own business. I was the boss. Nobody told me what to do. Yeah, I told them what to do. I made the decisions. Some people liked them, some people didn't, but I was in charge, so I made them. And other people were expected to follow them, to work for me. And then you come here, and people say, would you sweep the floor? What? I'm the CEO. Why are you asking me to sweep the floor? That's the janitor's job. Yeah, you don't ask me to sweep the floor, wash the dishes. That's not who I am. I have these talents and this education, and I was successful in this and this and this, and you're not treating me like who I am. You're treating me like the janitor. Yeah, I'm not saying you're doing that. You haven't been here long enough. You do it? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So, because we all come in with this identity of how we expect people to treat us. Okay? So I'm going to touch on some things that maybe push some buttons in some people. Somebody else came into the monastery, and it's like, don't shame me. Yeah, I've been shamed too much in my life. Do not shame me. Do not put me down. Give me credit for what I do. Yeah, that's my identity. I'm capable. But a lot of people don't see that, and they shame me, they blame me, they do this. Don't do that to me. Okay? They come in and say that. And the rest of us are going, huh? We never had any intention of doing any of that to you. But you see, you come in with identities, and then people are saying, no, you're not that. Yeah? You're not a shameful person. We have no intention of shaming you. You don't need to warn us beforehand. Yeah? I also heard, I heard that some of the juniors did not like being told what to do by the shikshamanas. Okay, now the shikshamanas are not the top level of ordination, but they're not the lower level of ordination. So they kind of think that they're somebody. I'm somebody, and I'm going to be a bhikshuni. Yeah. So you, over there, you, who ordained after me, yeah, wash the dishes. And the juniors go, who do you think you are? You know, I'm taller than you. Why are you telling me what to do? Yeah, I could beat you to a pulp if I want. Why are you bossing me around? Oh, I see a few people nodding their heads. Yeah. Yeah. I am so-and-so, don't boss me around. Or, I am so-and-so, I have the status to boss you around, and you better listen. Yeah? Who would come in with these kind of ideas about things? Yeah? And I think also because we're men and women living here, people come in with different ideas. The men come in and, we're men. No woman's going to tell me what to do. And there just happens to be a whole lot more women here than men. But don't you know, in society, men are the ones in charge. You should respect me because I'm a man. No other reason is necessary. Yeah, and the women are going, cuckoo, cuckoo. What's this guy talking about? Yeah? And the men are going, because they don't even realize, that that's part of their identity. Yeah? Okay, but you quickly bump into it here. Yeah? So all these different identities. And, I'm Abbess, and I expect certain people to relate to me in a certain way. I was telling her the other day that since COVID, nobody wants to wash my bowl after lunch. I was washing it myself. I told her, then she started washing it. But, these people, don't they know how to relate to their spiritual master? This has nothing to do with me. I am not being egotistical. But they should know how to relate to their teacher. Yeah? Who is training them anyway? They're not trained very well. Okay, so, we all come in with these identities and expecting other people to know who we are because we've developed these identities and other people just don't agree with us because they're holding on to their identities, making sure, trying to make sure that we know who they are. Yeah. And here I keep thinking, I've talked to you about little Tyrone when I taught third grade. The little boy who thought that he couldn't learn how to read because earlier in his life, I think somebody told him he was stupid. I knew Tyrone was not stupid. But he had that identity and he held on to it. And as a result, it was difficult for him to learn to read. Yeah. Yeah. I hold on to this great tragedy in my life in 8th grade. Yeah. I had to take home ec. Yeah, home ec? Did you take home ec? Yeah. You took home ec? No, none of the guys took home ec. Yeah, you all took shop. You didn't take shop? What's wrong with you? No, in my school, the girls took home ec and the boys took shop. Okay, so the girls learned how to cook and sew and smile. And the boys learned how to take a hammer and go whomp. And maybe they learned to change a light bulb too. and unplug a toilet. But I was deprived. I never learned those things. Yeah, I learned cooking and I learned sewing, neither of which I do very much of these days. Of course, I don't saw and chip and do those things either, but I could have received an education that taught me some things more than what I knew. Because when we purchased the land here, I all of a sudden, like, oh, we have radon. What is that? Yeah, we need a radon system. What's a radon system? We need to put in a septic system. But I thought a septic system, all you do is you flush the toilet and it vanishes, and you turn on the water tap and water comes. What do you mean we have to build a septic system? What's that? Yeah? And all these kinds of things that, because I was a girl, I didn't, well, it wasn't all because I was a girl, Part of it was because I was not interested in a lot of that stuff. My mom knew it, yeah? She not with the hammer business, but she knew about real estate, she knew about interest rates with banks, all that kind of stuff that we had, she knew about working with construction companies. I didn't know any of that, and I thought it was so boring. That was my identity. That stuff is boring. I don't want anything to do with it.
And look at you now.
Yeah, look at me now. Yeah? When we had to get the land here, I'm madly dialing, because, you had to dial numbers. No, that was beyond that stage. We had to punch numbers. But, dialing was when I was really a kid. But, I had to call all sorts of people and ask for advice because I knew nothing, about that. And it's like, So, okay, the point I'm getting at is to look in your life, and as you live, and what are the identities that you hold? And some of the identities we know, we can say, yeah. And then what are my expectations of holding that identity? Okay, so I carry an American passport. Yeah, that's how I know I'm American, because I have the passport. When I go to different places, some countries, they like Americans. Some countries, they don't like Americans. Yeah? So how do I feel when I'm going through customs? Yeah? Am I a little bit nervous because I'm afraid they may not like me because I'm American, or they may make, who knows what? Yeah? Or Buddhist, when I went into Beijing, when I flew into Beijing, yeah? And I didn't wear my robes. I wore maroon, and I wore maroon pants, and I had a shaved head. I didn't wear my Zen. But are they going to recognize that I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, and will they let me in? What do they think about Tibetan Buddhists? Are they going to follow me around? Yeah. And then you see some of, your ideas about who you are and how you think other people are going to relate to you. And so with some of that, I find it, like especially traveling as an American, it's, some people love you because you're American, some people don't. Yeah, but if I can be a nice person to whoever I meet when I'm traveling, yeah, then it might change their idea because I'm somebody who doesn't fit in their stereotype. Okay. So I try and be nice, not just because of that, but because I know these people have hard jobs. Yeah, so saying, who do I think I am? How do I think other people will treat me because of who I think I am? Yeah. Whatever position you're in your life, it's like, well, yeah, if you think I'm the CEO of a company, yeah, and you're traveling to Hawaii on vacation, so you're wearing, the Hawaiian shirts. You can tell people go to Hawaii. They all have a certain kind of shirt, that looks like a wave crashing and a beach with an umbrella on top. You know what I'm talking about, yeah. So, yeah, and I'm not. So I'm a CEO, and I go to Hawaii, and I'm dressed like I'm going to Hawaii. But I expect everybody to know I'm a CEO. I'm not just a regular tourist. Yeah? Or I flew in on my own plane. Yeah? But of course, the people that we meet, they have no idea. Yeah? And so very often we're not treated in the way that we think we should be treated because we're holding so strongly onto an identity. When we hold an identity of, I'm worthless, I can't do anything right, I'm kind of poor, poor quality me, nobody's gonna love me, or, I can't do much. When other people come along and say, thank you, you did that job really well, you don't believe them. You think they're lying. You think that they're trying to flatter you because your idea is, I'm totally incompetent. Nobody can praise me for something I've done. Yeah. Or you feel, I'm unlovable, nobody likes me. And then somebody comes along and says, I really like these traits in you, and you're a good friend, and you go, what's wrong with you? You think I'm nice? Something must be wrong with you. Yeah, it's so interesting. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you bumped up against all this kind of stuff in your life? There's a few people who are stone-faced around here. Oh, me? So, people aren't acting the way we think they should towards us. We think we're great, but they're not treating us great. We think we're worthless, but they're treating us really nice. Like, what, huh? And we get quite disoriented. Yeah. My sister told me that when she was younger, when she went into department stores or, Costco and stuff like that, she said there were always so many of the young men working there who were happy to help her find whatever she needed. And now she's, how old is my sister? She's in, middle, late 50s. Yeah, and she says, now I go into Costco, nobody looks at me, nobody offers to help, But she's still having the idea of, I'm young and attractive. Yeah, so they should, that word should, treat me in a certain way. Yeah? Okay, so the point is, look at all of this and watch the ideas about yourself that come up. Yeah, and the ideas about how other people should treat you and how you feel when they don't treat you that way, when they treat you better than you think you should be treated or worse than you should be treated. and say, am I that person? That image I have of who I am I that? Yeah. It's also a really interesting question as you age, okay? Because you hit, some of you may or may not remember, yeah? Do you remember when you were in your 20s and 40 was like totally over the hill? Yeah? Yeah.
Now I'm 60.
Huh?
Now I'm 60.
Yeah, and now 40's young. Yeah? But when you're 20, wow, those people who are 40, they have so much like life experience and they know this and that. They're established. Then you're 60 and it's like 40, you're a baby. You don't know anything yet. Yeah? Yeah. And then you notice how each 10 years, when there's a different, you go from 20 to 30 to 40, you have to adjust who you think you are. Yeah? And some of us adjust well and some of us don't. Yeah? I mean, I really don't think I'm my age. Sometimes I go, oh yeah, I am that number, which means da-da-da-da-da, how much longer do I have to live? I don't know, but of course I didn't know that when I was 3 years old either, because the time of death is indefinite. But now, I'm pretty sure that more than half of my life is gone. You're laughing. But I'm only 21, and my life is just starting, and I can do anything I want. I have freedom in my life. But now I've decided I don't want to do all those things I did before and waste time. Now I know what I want to do, and I'm just 21 and starting everything out. Mm-hmm. So that's sometimes. And then other times it's, okay, look, kids, I'm 73. I know something. Yes, I know my knowledge constitutes that I'm 73. I know that fact until my next birthday. Yeah. But no, I'm not really 73. 73? Yeah? Those people walk with walkers, yeah, and with canes, and they're beginning to suffer from what's the name of that disease? Alzheimer's. Oh yeah, they're beginning to suffer from that. But that's not me. But when I look in the mirror, am I young? Am I old? I don't look like those pictures we showed last weekend. Yeah. Well, I do kind of the same shape of face, but who is that person? Yeah. And I know all of you were looking at those pictures too and going, oh, look how she used to look so young, not like she looks now. So many barnacles everywhere. That's what my dermatologist calls it. When you're older, you start growing different things. She calls them barnacles. Yeah, I have all these barnacles. I don't look like that person. Am I that person? I'm still 21. No, actually, I'm older. I'm 25 now. 21, I was really too much. But I'm 25 now. I'm more mature. Yeah? So why are you treating me like I'm 73? And then other times, well, you expect me to carry that. Don't you realize I'm bordering on being a little old girl? excuse me, not a little old girl, I'm bordering on being a little old lady. Yeah? Yeah, yeah, here's my crutch. I'm bordering on being that. Yeah? So that means you should pick that up and help me carry it. Yeah, and don't you know I have back problems? I can't bend down so easily, and there's all that garbage on the floor. Yeah? Yeah? You think I'm 25, I'm going to pick it up? Okay. So, yeah, to come back, our topic is, developing a healthy sense of self. Well, I think we need to learn more, to be more realistic about what we are and what we aren't, because a lot of our self-image is just garbage. Yeah, total garbage. And yet, we cling to it with the assumption that, and here we're just talking conventionally, that this is who I am. Okay? Now, yes, of course, we're grasping that person as inherently existent, but the qualities of who we think we are right now, that's all conventional stuff, and we believe it. Yeah? And, is it true? That we have to spend some time asking ourselves that. Yeah? Is it really true that I've been shamed my whole life and that everybody else is going to continue to shame me? Is it really true that because I have this color skin that people should treat me in a certain way? Is it true, that because I have barnacles, they're not going to put me on the cover of Vogue? Yeah, I was always waiting to be on the cover of Vogue, like, wouldn't this be good, don't you think, cover of Vogue? They do a whole spread on little old nuns. Yeah? Don't you think that would be? Yeah, why are they so prejudiced against old women? Yeah? Why are they so prejudiced against women who shave their heads and wear the same clothes every day? Can you imagine that? What kind of person in their right mind, except somebody who's poor, wears the same clothes every day? Even my 7-year-old niece commented on it. She knew that you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. Okay, so going through those things and really examining, am I this or am I not this? And by holding a conception that I'm this, how does that influence my relationships with other people? Yeah. How does holding the identity of I'm not very strong influence people? How does holding the identity of I am very strong influence my relationships with people? Okay, it's very interesting, and really checking what am I any of those things, and then you start peeling the sheaths off of the plantain tree. Yeah, and it's really rather liberating when you shed many of those old self-perceptions. Yeah, like maybe one of your perceptions is, I cry a lot. Yeah, and so you think, well, okay, today, what am I going to cry about? Yeah, and then maybe you realize, that's just a made-up identity that I carry around with myself, and that I do because that's what I expect myself to do, but it's really stupid. That's not who I am. Yeah? Okay, so start peeling it away. Yeah? And I think that that's something that we have to do before we get really into analyzing if there's an inherently existent self, because this is a conventional identity, and I think as we start deconstructing that, we're practicing the deconstruction that we'll eventually use when thinking about, do we ultimately exist? But also, we are shedding all sorts of aspects about ourselves that keep us trapped. Because all those self-images of who I am and how people should treat me, they are not real. They are made up by our mind. You're going to say, but everybody thinks that way about little old ladies. Yeah. No, not everybody does. Yeah. Even if they did, wouldn't it be nice if they learned that you can't put everybody who has a certain trait in a group and think you know everything about them? Yeah. Can you take all Americans and put them in a group and you know who they are? Can you take all, Muslims and put them in a group and know who they are? Yeah, that's the way our world operates, and you can really see the fault of that right now by what's going on. Yeah, and you have the Muslims doing protests here and the Jews doing protests here, and we aren't any of those things. If we had been born on different pieces of dirt, we would have had a different identity. Yeah, if we had been born with different parents, we would have had a different identity. So just the fact that our conventional identities are so dependent on other factors, indicates that they're actually quite flimsy. Yeah, but we solidify them and we hold on to them. Yeah. And it causes ourselves and others a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. So, then you think, okay, but if I start to strip away all of that, what kind of identity am I going to have? Okay? And here, where Lama Yeshe he really understood the Western mind. And here I'm making a generalization as if everybody had the same mind, but that's not true. But he said, you people have a lot of poor quality view. Yeah, you see yourself as poor quality. And he says, that's not true. And we go, yes it is, Lama. Look, you taught us about the 8 worldly concerns, and we do all 8. You taught us about the 10 non-virtues. We've done all 10. Yeah, we are like that. And he says, no, you're not. You're not like that. Yeah. And then he talks about our potential to become fully awakened Buddhas, and how that's a potential that is the very nature of our mind to start out with. It's not a factor that is dependent on other conditions. It's the very nature of the mind that it is free from all of those. It's free from being all of those conceptualizations we have about it. Yeah? I go, really? Really? Who I am isn't all those conceptualizations? Can't be. This is me. Yeah. And then Lama keeps hitting you with that. Mm-hmm. And here's where, when we do deity practice, here's where deity practice comes in. Yeah? When you visualize Chenrezi, okay, 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes, looking out at sentient beings with fondness, with compassion, with acceptance. And you don't think, oh, he's looking that way to everybody else except me. No, you're doing the practice, and Chenrezig is also looking at me with compassion. Chenrezig is also looking at me with optimism and knowledge of what I can become, that I can become a Buddha. Yeah. And at first, it's kind of, it takes you a while to really visualize Chenrezig, let alone anybody, looking at you with eyes of compassion. Because very often in our world, we're, used to people looking at us with either eyes of what can I get out of you, or eyes of, I can't stand you, or eyes of I'm higher than you, or eyes of I'm lower than you. But to really think of somebody looking at us with compassion, it's a totally different thing. Okay? And it takes a while when we're doing the practice to really imagine that I am worthy of a Buddha looking at me with compassion. And then we say, oh, well, yeah, of course he's looking at me with compassion because I'm so hopeless and I'm so terrible. No, that's not the reason the Buddhas look at us with compassion. Because we think compassion, who do you have compassion for? Some slobs, okay? No, the Buddhas have compassion for everybody, And they have that compassion wanting us to be free of misery because they know that we are capable of creating the causes to be free of misery. Yeah, so it's not some kind of phony thing of, actually you are poor quality, but I'm just saying nice things. It's not that. It's they can really see potential in us that we can't see in ourselves. And to get used to just imagining Chenrezig or the Buddha or Tara, whoever it is, looking at you like that. Yeah, and that's actually a very important element of the practice when you do it. Yeah. And then at the end of the practice, in the middle of the practice, you're reciting mantra, and as many sadhanas are, there's light coming into you from the Buddha, from Chenrezig. They're emanating incredible light, and it's purifying you of everything that you don't like about yourself, everything that you feel guilty about having done, everything that you think poor quality about. Yeah. And you imagine that light coming into you, and it just lights you up inside, and all those identities are gone. They vanish. Yeah, and you have to sit there in the visualization, reciting the mantra, imagining yourself filled with that light, and knowing that you are none of those preconceptions, that you have the Buddha nature, the potential. And then after the white light, then the golden light comes from the Buddhas into you. And it's like, oh, here are all the realizations. Here are all the qualities that I would really like to have, that I'm usually jealous of so many other people because they have those qualities and I don't. But no, you're doing the practice, and this golden light's coming from the Buddha into you. And, and the way you meditate is, all those realizations are coming into me. All those good qualities are coming into me. I can develop them. I can develop them. I will develop them. Okay? And you imagine your whole body and mind now filled with golden light. Before it was filled with the white light, now it's with the golden light. Yeah? And then the real shocker is at the end of the practice, the Buddha comes and dissolves into light and comes into you and comes into your heart. What? Now, I'm just little old me, what's the Buddha kind of inspiring me, blessing me with like that? I don't deserve that. What, so you're telling the Buddha he's stupid? Yeah, the Buddha sees potential in you, and you're saying, well, Buddha, you see potential in me, but that's because you're really stupid. You have no idea who I am and what I've done. Yeah? You want to look at the Buddha in the eye and say that? Yeah? You want to tell the Buddha he's stupid? Because he doesn't know that you're stupid? Because you firmly believe you're stupid? Yeah? I don't think that's too smart to do. Yeah. Don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, my motivation today is to tell the Buddha he's stupid. It's not so good. No, the Buddha comes and dissolves into light and comes and rests in the center of your heart. Wow, amazing. What does that feel like? Yeah, the Buddha's at the center of my heart. Maybe that means I can become a Buddha. Maybe that means that, not maybe, it does mean I can develop all those qualities that I want to develop, and I'm really not any of those horrible things that I think I am. Yeah, and then you meditate on that for a while and stay with that. Okay, so you're beginning to really change your identity. Yeah. And then from there you start going into, how do I actually exist? Yeah, am I a permanent, partless, independent soul that's created by some kind of creator? That doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah, if some creator created me, why in the world did he do it? Why in the world did they make me who I was? And why don't they stop the suffering in the world? Yeah, they created my soul. What in the world is a soul? Some essence of meanness? What in the world is that? And if somebody else created it, then it means it depends on causes and conditions and it can change. So it's not permanent and fixed. Yeah? So you start, questioning some of those things that you were taught as a kid about, having some deep essence inside of you that somebody else made. Yeah, and you ask questions, can that be? Yeah. And so especially those of us who grew up in another religion that taught that kind of thing, then when we come to Buddhism, we have to really look at those issues and how much do I believe them? Is that really who I am? Yeah, is there a real soul that's going to float up out of my body when I die and do what? Go to heaven. Because everybody goes to heaven except the people I don't like. Have you ever noticed that? Everybody goes to heaven, but the people I don't like. Okay, but everybody thinks that. And some of the people I don't like, other people think are going to heaven. And some of the people I like, other people don't like and think aren't going to heaven. So who is it that's going to heaven? And who decides? And are there really pearly gates? And somebody there asking for your ticket? Yeah, who's supposed to be saying to somebody, Who's supposed to be at the pearly gates? St. Peter? St. Peter? Yeah? Yeah. So let's see your scorecard from your virtue. Yeah? I'll decide if you're going to heaven or hell. But if you grew up Christian, can you go to a Muslim heaven? Yeah, if you grew up Muslim, can you go to a Jewish heaven? Yeah. Interesting question, is it? I don't know, do they get that far when they teach you in Sunday school? Yeah? Because, well, you're not supposed to ask those kind of questions, are you? You don't ask that. Okay. And then, so you work through that, try and figure out. Yeah. Because that idea that there's a permanent, unchanging soul, that, if on top of that, then we think, therefore, I am inherently a horrible person. Or inherently, I'm an important person. Because that's the nature of my soul. It's stamped that way. Yeah. Not stamped with made in the US. Made by God, defective. Made by God, perfect. What are we thinking? Does a dog have a soul? I watched one movie, some years ago. I forget the name of it, but the main character was a man with a family, and he died, and then his soul, did you see that? Floated up and then went into the family's dog. Yeah, because he had so much attachment to the family. Yeah, so I don't know what happened to the dog's soul once the owner of the dog became the dog. I don't know, he kicked the other soul out, I don't know. Okay, but you start asking these questions, Is there something like that is me? And then as you go through the tenet system and you start investigating the various descriptions of our wrong ideas, and you start looking and, inherently existent I. What's inherently existent I? An I that just is self-instituting. It is there. Do you feel that way about yourself? Yeah, I'm sitting here. There is an I that is sitting here. Don't ask me what it is, because I can't actually tell you. But it is. Yeah. Then you go back to my big identity search in college, and you look for your boyfriend that you're going to stay out all night with so that you can figure out that you have an I, that you exist. But now you're older and you realize, no, there is no I to establish as this big, fat thing that is really me, that I've been born many times, and in each life I've been something different. And even looking in this life, from childhood to now, wow, am I the same person? Is there an essence that's been there the whole life? What is it? Yeah, no, I am just I. But if I am I, then who was that baby? Does that baby have anything to do with me, or are they totally unrelated? Okay, so here's where learning about emptiness and going through those arguments really, really helpful. Yeah. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. Maybe you have some questions or comments? Yeah.
Venerable, I don't know whether I get this correctly. I noticed that when I let go one identity, which is who I was in the past, I create a new class of identity. I am nobody. And then I start to reject that. Okay, since that I'm no one here, and then it's better that I keep my mouth shut. And then I have this behavior of like, because I do not want people to scold me. And it appears to be I am a people pleaser outside. Inside, I am actually avoiding suffering. So that means it's actually a self-grasping over there, right?
Yeah.
I grab and then...
Yeah. I'm not that, I am this, but maybe I'm not this and I'm that. And maybe I'm both of them, but at different times. I'm not always a people pleaser. I'm not always afraid of people scolding me. But sometimes I'm both of them. Sometimes I'm neither of them. Yeah. And you're not really any of them, actually. Yeah. Who are you trying to please anyway? Yeah, where's Buddha Bear? Are you trying to please Buddha Bear? Yeah, but this is good that you're seeing those identities and those different parts of you. And sometimes when we see the different parts of us, it feels like we're just a hodgepodge of contradictory qualities. Yeah? Because one time I'm a people pleaser, the next time I'm confident. Yeah? One time I have a hot temper, the next time I'm very kind to somebody. Yeah? Can you say you're any of those things? Really, truly, always? Yeah? And we see, no, what I call I is something composed of many different qualities, many different factors, and none of those qualities, none of those factors are who I am. Yeah? But there's also not a separate I out here possessing all of those things. Yeah? Because we often go to that, oh, yes, I'm none of those things, but, this is who I am, my inner I, just the thought I. Yeah? Oh, huh? Who, what is that? Yeah? So we're not saying I don't exist. We're saying I exist, but not in the way I think I exist. Okay, so we have to peel away all the ways we don't exist. Yeah, and then when we find out how we do exist, it's very thin. Yeah, it's very thin. There's not some big thing there. And then you realize that actually gives you a lot of freedom. Yeah. I don't have to play a script that I've written. I don't have to play a script that somebody else wrote for me. There is no script. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, other questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Anne.
Yeah, it's from the chat line, Venerable. It's along the same lines. How do we take this view into the world that functions through identities? And in our conventional world, should we not recognise that people have developed certain skills or talents? Isn't wearing monastic robes or following Buddhist traditions and rituals a way of expressing one's identity in our conventional world?
Okay, my hearing is not so great. Yeah, we have somebody who's going to translate from Australian into American.
Oh, don't be like that.
Yeah. Yeah, could you understand when I talk, or was it like a foreign language? Yeah. Okay.
So how do we take this view into a world that functions through identities? And in our conventional world, should we not recognize that people have developed certain skills and talents? Isn't wearing monastic robes or following Buddhist traditions and rituals a way of expressing one's identity in our conventional world?
Yeah. Okay. So conventionally, we do have an identity. The thing is to not hold it as this is who I am and not be locked in by it. Okay? So yes, we know we wear monastic robes. Now, what's our motivation? Is it because you want to just walk down the street and have everybody notice that you are a monastic? Or if you do that in America, everybody think that you're alien who's dropped down from Mars? Or everybody is going to say to you, it's different now, but when I ordained, you know, you walk down the street and somebody goes, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Sorry, that's not me. You know, are you wearing the robes because you want to be somebody? Because now you're ordained so you can sit in the front row? Whoop-de-doo. Yeah? What is your motivation? Okay? Or are your robes something that help you remember the kind of person you want to be and the kind of actions that you don't want to do? Yeah? And so everybody, you know, who's wearing robes is going to have a different motivation. Yeah? Yeah, your teacher's supposed to teach you what the right motivation is. Yeah, and some people listen and some people don't. Okay, but yeah, there are, I mean, if I applied at if I applied for a job at a graphic design place, yeah, they're not going to hire me. I don't have that skill. Yeah, and I don't have that skill, and I don't hold that as part of my identity either. And it doesn't really mean much to me that I don't have the talents of a graphic designer. There's other people in this world that do, and I'm very glad they do, and they make very beautiful things. Yeah, but that's not my thing, and that's okay. Yeah, so there are those conventional identities, but the thing is, you know, do we think that's who we are forever and ever and ever, and that everybody should know us as that? Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because when you're young, you know, you go into situations and, you know, I'm young, I don't know a whole lot, I got to figure it out. And then sometimes as you age, yeah, some people get quite proud of themselves. You know, I'm this rank, I've achieved this and this and this. You should know that. Other people, as they age, gain some wisdom and realize, you know, I'm not a lot of things that I thought I was when I was young. And that's okay. And there's much more self-acceptance. But again, everybody's really different about that. Yeah. Okay, but remember, when we say identities are conventional, conventional implies that they, in terms of identities, that implies that they consist of parts, that they come about due to causes and conditions, that those identities can change, that various people can see them differently and have very different conclusions and ways of relating to them. In other words, when we see things more accurate, there's a whole lot of flexibility in our life. Yeah, when we see ourselves as having certain identities, there's not as much flexibility, and we get quite annoyed or agitated when people don't treat us the way we think we should be. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So remember that visualization that I taught with the Buddha, you know, and the white light coming and the yellow light coming? Do that, yeah? And do it consistently and see if that changes your idea of who you are and what you're capable of, yeah? And maybe it helps you understand why some people treat you, you know, as more valuable than you think you are. That doesn't mean that now you can go and get arrogant. Yeah, that's replacing one false identity with another one. Okay, anything else? Okay, then we'll dedicate.
Due to this merit, may
May
we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Okay, thank you everybody at Vajrayana Institute. Yeah.